Well, greetings, shalom to you who believe, greetings to all else. This is basically a warning to all those who do believe. I believe that the spiritual, and that's with the small letter S, of course, as in the satanic forces, but don't forget, that our king is in charge of all things. Satan's got to have permission, and that's why what took place here last Sunday on the 17th of June was pretty devastating to me spiritually, with a capital letter S, of course. It really did shake my faith quite a bit. I cut down a couple trees on Sunday, and as the sun was starting to get ready to complete its circuit in the firmament, I decided that I had better water my garden. Now, the water hose that I have hooked up goes down into the cellar. Like I say, this is around a 200-year-old, maybe give or take, year-old house. It's had many demonic forces in it before over the years. I'm certain they actually done animal sacrifices and things of that sort here on the property before our family took over the place. But I had to go down to the cellar to turn on the water. And I've had problems with demons. I ran them out of here before on more than one occasion, but sometimes they still stumble across. There's one video where there was one that was flying around over there behind me. It went zoop, and I noticed it and I rebuked it and it left. And I'm not thinking that we should give these critters really the opportunity anymore. I think we need to send out the message to them and ask the Holy Malachim by our King to send them to remove these unwanted, wicked, and evil spirits and have them sent to an early judgment. And I pray that y'all will do this, especially after this Sunday. Like I said, it really shook my faith. It shook the foundations of my soul. I went down the outside cellar stairs, and at the bottom there's a doorway that, is about this tall. So in order to get in there, and then of course you got cobwebs that are hanging and such, for about like this. So when I go in, I bend way over like this to get into the cellar, where I can then pretty much stand up most of the way with my head tilted about like this. And I can walk around in there. And of course there are some of the duct works, from the furnace in there that, take up a little more space, so I have to bend over, and I'm well aware of these things. I knocked my head off them several times, and, over the years that my grandparents lived here, and now that I've lived here, I've still whacked my head a couple times, but nothing like what went on this last Sunday. I went over to the cellar, like I said. I went down the stairs, I bent over, at the waist, basically, is how I go in there from 3 steps before going into the doorway. It's just a thing. I bend over at the waist, and I walk on in there. And when I was bent over, what occurred is that my head was bent over, and it was like something hit me like an axe, when it come down. And for some reason, it registered as a 2x4 when it hit me. I mean, the clunk and everything, and I've worked a lot of jobs, doing construction, such things as those, even around the house, with my children, we're building things here or there, and, it's inevitable. I'm going to get clocked in the head with a 2x4, or somewhere with a 2x4, a 2x2 or something, a hammer, someone's going to drop a tool on my head, but this was quite different when I went down there. It was, I really had no feeling of anything. Usually my hairs will stand up on end, all over my body. I feel that tingle, that dread from, the dead. The dread from the dead, I like that. But anyway, when I bent over, man, it hit me so hard, it spun me right around to the side, and I almost went up against the wall, and I'm standing there going, my word, boy, that hurt, man. I had this big old bump. It was probably out, let me see if I get my hand. It was probably out about that far from this side of my head. Now it's gone down today, but it's still a little bit tender. But, when I first got hit, I had a problem talking because you don't know how many muscles, are interactive with an area up here that are from your mouth, and it just hurt quite a bit to speak. But I mean, that thing clocked me so hard. I mean, I saw stars, I saw little birds, I have not been hit that hard. And I used to do street fighting and all sorts of things, and I got hit pretty hard at times, but man, there was nothing hit me like that before. And it was just out of the blue, bang! And I knew immediately that it was a spook that done clocked my butt, man. I'm telling you what, I was not pleased. And all I said, I pray Yahweh rebuke you, and Yahshua, I pray you send Holy Malachim down here to take this unclean and wicked spirit and have him taken to an early place of judgment. And just like that, boom. I mean, the whole cellar, I've been having this problem with this wicked, evil mildew smell. Okay, it would come around, and it wasn't an everyday thing. It's just, sometimes I'd be out in the kitchen, and all of a sudden I smell something bad, and I told my brother Shul, I says, I've been pouring baking soda down the drain, because I'm by the sink, or I'll go toward the bathroom, you got the sink, and then across the other wall all the way to the back behind this room right there, where you see the mirror on that door there. Behind that room is where the bathroom is, and then the kitchen's on the whole other side over here. Let me see. Over there, okay, is the kitchen, and then you got the bathroom at the very back by the back door. And man, the smell of mildew was horrible, I mean, it was sickening. It was like when you cut your lawn, and sometimes you cut across some certain weeds or something, and you get this real strong green, fragrant flavor that you could even taste in your mouth and in your nose. It's really pungent, except this was like evil. It was an evil mildew that was just something I've never smelt before. And I've smelt plenty of molds, I've smelt plenty of mildews, but this was way beyond those things. I mean, when I smelt it, it wrenched my stomach, and I just knew it was something that was not beneficial at all. So I started pouring baking soda down my drain. I had boxes of baking soda up, Glade and things of this sort, or Lysol didn't work. It didn't even mask it, so I knew something was up. Then I found out, on that day, after I asked the Holy Malachim to remove that spirit, and the mildew flavor went away just like that. I knew that it was this wicked and foul beast that was down there that clocked me. No, my point of this warning is I'm nobody special, believe you me. In fact, I feel like one of the most unspecial people on this planet. You've got all those out in religianity and churchianity thinking that they're doing right and they're rich and they could do whatever they want whenever they want and everything else, And that's fine, there's nothing wrong with having wealth. There's nothing wrong with enjoying the wealth you have, as long as it's done within the confines of the Ten Commandments and the 612 laws, or however many there are, that simply define how to keep the Ten Commandments, okay? There's nothing wrong in there, and that's what I do, and that's why it's quite surprising and amazing, and why I have to put out this warning, is because, if they attack me, my friends, then you should also know that they may also be able to do the same. In fact, it speaks of in Revelation where Satan is given power over the saints, okay? And I had no idea. I thought that the last 30-some years, well, actually my entire life, but specifically since like 1987 until now, where I've been suffering tribulation, a thing that most in churchianity or religianity out there don't even believe is here yet, because they're not being tested and tried, okay? And our King even said, if you're not chastised, then you're bastards, okay? And that's a B-A-S-T-U-R-D-S. And usually when I call someone a bastard, it's a B-A-S-S-T-U-R-D, something that floats around in the water and, is only picked up by scavengers. But, our King says you're a bastard if you are not chastised. So if you've got all this wonderful wealth and everything, and you're not being chastised, you're not having these tests and trials, on a daily basis, you really should stop and consider your ways. And I'm going to tell you, even those that are, out there skating along without an instance, I'm sorry to say, but I have reason to believe that you may be affected as well, and you may be pummeled out of the darkness where you have never considered anything as being a threat, and all of a sudden, whack, you might get hit by a ball, you might get hit by a truck or something that just comes out of nowhere, okay? And I'm telling you, keep a sixth sense around you, I guess I should say. You know, watch as if you're looking for ticks, okay? As in the little animals there that bite you and give you Lyme disease, okay? Here in New York, everybody is always on the alert for these ticks. This is how you should be with the laws and the commandments. You should look at them with ticks everywhere. If you break them, you know you're going to get bit by the tick, okay? And you're going to get this Lyme's disease. But in actuality, that might help you with seeing what's going on with you presently. But, in all actuality, when you break a law or commandment willfully, knowingly, or intentionally, you actually bring hellfire upon yourself, which the ticks won't even survive. So you should be looking at it in that type of elevated viewpoint, up on a mountain, looking down, in your way that you have walked, okay, you've climbed up this little hill, and you look around, seeing everybody else down there saying, hey man, come on up here, this is where it is, this is where the truth is, man. And when they start climbing up and you turn around to start climbing back, to walk out on what you thought was a plateau, all of a sudden it's like, boom, another cliff that you're looking straight up that you got to climb up. And then you'll get up to that point of understanding, looking back down again, saying, hey, everybody, come on up here. And you think you're at the top again, and you turn around, and boom, there you are with another cliff. And that's how the faith works, And when you think that you are to the point that even the demons fear you, well, believe you me, they may fear you, but they may kick the hell out of you just the same, because that's what they have to do if they're called to do it. Now, whether or not our king got message that I was going to get clocked in the head the other day or not, I don't know, but it really shook my faith. It really did, knowing that I'm supposed to be protected, and yet these critters can still clock me in the head. But I cried out, and they were removed immediately. But I still had that bump there, man, and it hurt, and I had vertigo from hell, man. I'm telling you, it was an awful few days I had there. But I had friends like Amy and, Larry and Diane, and, I'm sure Barbara and, a bunch of others, my niece Jenny and Kate, they was praying for me and everything, and I did finally get feeling better today. I've been wanting to bring out videos for a while, but it's like, man, I sit down and the whole room would start spinning, when I turn on the video to do something, and I mean, it was like drunk times hell, that's what this vertigo was like after this. And I've had vertigo before, but this was some really bad vertigo. I mean, I barely got anything done. It made me sick in my stomach. Most of the time I was sitting down just going, oh, please, just end my life, do something. This sucks. But anyway, that thing hit me so hard, so be on the lookout. Things may arise. These demons appear to be gaining in strength. Now, whether our king let them hit me or not, I don't know, but it sure shook my faith, because it's, why did you let them hit me, Yahshua? You could have used man like you normally do, and now you're using the demons to do this, and it just really shook my faith right to the foundations. And I said, I don't care what takes place. I'm still going to keep your laws and the commandments. That's all I know. I'm going to trust in you. I'm pissed at you right now because you let them hit me. Why did you let them hit me? Was it... and so many thoughts went through my head. It was just a horrible ordeal. And, in the early parts of my faith, I remember times where I just broke down and wept for days and didn't even know why. I mean, it was just these mind screws that was coming on me, So avoid these things the best you can by keeping your faith in the laws and the commandments. Stand upon those things, and trust in our King, who said that he'll protect you. Now, his protection doesn't mean that nothing's going to touch you. What his protection is that no matter what touches you, you're not going to die unless you are ready for the kingdom. If you're actually seeking, you won't die unless your work is done, okay? If your work's not done, you can't die. So his protection is, though the devils in the world kicks the tarnations out of you, okay, you can't die. Suffer, yeah. Pain, oh, severe. Torments, daily. Tribulations all the time, though churchianity and religianity is looking out, wondering when the tribulation starts, we'll be raptured. Well, there's no rapture either, my friends, okay? Read your scriptures. You'll never see where rapture is mentioned once. This is a man's teaching. Now, there is a first and a second resurrection. Blessed is he who's in the first, okay? Well, blessed are those too that are in the second. It's just that they never had this opportunity. Our King wants none to perish. None. Our Father wants none to perish. I don't want any to perish. That's the point of the second resurrection. It's for all those who are used as tests and trials against those who are actually walking properly. Okay? And they were used as tools to come against you by the principalities and the rulers of the air. Okay? They used these people as puppets and such, some of them. But our King doesn't want them to lose their salvation just simply because they never had understanding. You know, and they even came against his people. I mean, our King's up there on a pole, you know, and he's like, hey, forgive them. They don't even know what they've done, you know. Forgive them for this. And they was forgiven. Our King had that power to forgive them. And those that drove in the nails and everything, those that spit on him and beat him in the face and probably knocked his teeth out and everything. Doesn't even say, but they most likely did. These guys could hit hard. You know, like a mule kicking, you know, these men in the days of old. I mean, they had arms like Popeye, you know, without eating spinach, for crying out loud. They were huge, and the oxygen levels and the nutrients in the food and everything was so different than they are today. These people were powerful, and they was beating our King in the face. You know, who hit you? Tell me, prophesy, you jerk. Who hit you? And our King says, hey, I forgive them all. Forgive them, Father. They don't even know what they do. And that's how we got to keep in mind as well. Don't think you can rise up against the Spirit your own self and just tell him by your own self. Okay, the 7 sons of Sceva did this. They were exorcists back in the days, and Acts will tell you about it if you read it. The 7 sons of Sceva, S-K-E-V-A, I believe the guy's name is. And they went out there exorcising demons, and this one they came across and said, you know, by Paul or whatever, in the name of Yahshua, I'm going to say, even though the scripture says the J word, which is only 300 years old. The letter J was invented 300 years ago, or give or take, you know, in the 16th or 17th century. Most every encyclopedia under the letter J will tell you that the letter J was invented. Okay, so we're talking a 300-year-old letter, a 300-year-old name, J, Jesus, okay? Well, anyway, this demon, you know, inside this fella that the 7 sons of Sceva are trying to exorcise, turns to him and says, well, you know, I know who Paul is that you speak of, and I know who this Yahshua is too, but who are you? And then that spirit jumped on them and whooped their butts, and you're going to see a lot more of this taking place, I'm sure. If they whooped my butt the way they did there, you know, this last Sunday, and put me off a whole week here, you know, before I could get back to make a video or do much of anything in my life, for crying out loud. The vertigo was horrible. I stand up, I had to walk holding onto the wall so I didn't fall over. I mean, it was like I was on a drunk times hell, I'm telling you. I was wanting to fall down. I didn't fall down because I was holding on to things, but everything was just spinning and swimming on me so bad for, you know, almost a week. That thing hit me so hard, I thought it would have cracked my head wide open. I really did. But there wasn't any blood. It just had a big old bump. And boy, it was so hard to sleep or anything, you know. I touch that, I wake right up like, oh man, what was that? So be on the lookout, be aware that the demons appear to have much more power than they did, you know, 2 weeks ago. They're starting to rise up from what I see. Pray for one another. Now when I go into the basement, before I go down there, I ask, I say, Yahshua, you know, I don't want to get hit in the head by no spiritual 2x4 again. And I looked all over the basement. There wasn't anything in there that I mean, there are some boards in there, but they still got dust on them, cobwebs, that sort of thing. They're laying there. There was nothing there at all that I could see that had been moved to hit me with. But I know, from times past, and a lot of times when you're sitting around and you go to find your car keys and you know where you left them and they're not there, and everybody looks all over the place, and all of a sudden you find them in a place where you probably never would have put them to begin with. And they're there. It's because, these spirits, they do have that power to materialize things that they dematerialize. They dematerialize it so it becomes invisible, and they can take it anywhere they want. And then they can materialize it. Like one time I was sitting in my man cave back in Texas with a few friends of mine, which totally couldn't believe it, and then they thought I was a witch afterwards and everything, because we're in the trailer and my daughter had walked through, and as soon as she walked past, this lock that I always lock the trailer door with, and I left right in the hasp, it materialized in thin air and hit the floor right after my daughter walked by. Clunk! And we looked, and everyone knew that the lock was on the hasp because that's where it always was. But it dematerialized from where it was into thin air in the middle of the trailer, and clunk, hit the floor in front of all of us. We're sitting there talking scriptures and things of that sort, and there this lock materializes. We all saw it and hits the floor, but nobody can conceive actually what went on, but I could. I seen what went on, and they thought, or a couple friends there didn't want to come around anymore because they thought I was into witchcraft because of what these demons did there, and it was just letting them know this is the power that they have. I had no desire for that to take place, and it was startling, when it took place, but I've had many things like that occur in my childhood and through my life, things dematerializing, materializing again. It's just one of the powers that, the dead have. And, everything is a frequency, and they could change a frequency of a lock to turn it into invisibility. There ain't no problem for that. They can materialize, they can dematerialize. In other words, kind of like using one of those old ray guns. The Martian there would zap something, and boom, it was dematerialized. It was no longer there. All the atoms and everything lost the coherency with the other atoms around it, and they just all dispersed to where it was nothingness. Well, the dead have that power. They can dematerialize things and materialize them again. So just keep these things in mind and know that the powers are rising. I'm nobody special, but I'll tell you what, I keep the laws and the commandments. I'd rather die than to break any of them. And if the dead, and they know me all, they sure do. I've ran off many of them. But now, even though one down there, I asked our king to run off. So don't think you're going to do these things. You got to ask our king. And ask him right away. Before I go down the stairs anymore to the cellar, because I still have to go down there, turn the water on, turn it off when I'm done watering the garden. And I always ask before I go down, it's like, Yahshua, please, if there's anything down there, that's unclean or defiled, that's not, of this world, that wasn't created to be here for whatever, I pray you send down the Holy Malachim down there, grab that sucker or those suckers, and take them off to an early judgment. They're not allowed in my house. And I ask this before I go down the stairs, because I certainly don't want to get clocked again. But I was getting a little bit too much confidence. I was getting too comfortable, I guess, in my surroundings. And you should never let that be the case. Like I say, with everything that you do, you should look at it as if you're looking for ticks. Okay? Because you don't want Lyme's disease. But if you could use that for an example of everything that you do, whether it's you're in a store and you're thinking about stealing or changing a price tag or anything of that sort, look at it as if it's a tick. Okay? Do you want to pick up the tick and risk being bit? Well, if you don't, then don't change the price tags or be stealing or anything else when you're in the stores. It's just that simple. And that can be used in every example. Fornication, adultery, robbery, murder, all these things. You can lies, think of them all as being a tick. You're either giving a tick out or accepting a tick. Well, you don't want to do either of them, so keep the laws and the commandments. And may you be blessed. I just wanted to put this warning out. I hope you can hear it. The prayers, like I say, have been effective by others, you know. Sometimes it seems like mine aren't, you know, but it's just a test on my faith, you know. And my faith is growing again. Was really shook and shambles, I have to say, over the last week. I was really disconcerted, you know. I really was sick and tired of everything. I wanted nothing to do with nothing, you know. I still prayed. You know, I still kept the laws and commandments, but I was just shaken to my boots when I got hit in the head with that spiritual 2x4. So beware, my friends, and be on the lookout. You won't see it coming, you know, so it's best if you have any feeling or whatever, if you're going into someone's house, ask a prayer, you know, if there's anything there, you know, that's unclean and foul, you know, that the Holy Malachim will take it and remove it from that house, so you don't have to put up with these kind of things. I'm telling you, it's for your own benefit. If you think I'm crazy, that's fine. Anyone that turns from the laws or from breaking the laws in these end days are going to be considered as crazy. Okay, you're going to be considered as mad. And it's okay, because our King, he loves the foul things of this earth. He loves those that are in the gutters, you know, those that are all the way to the very bottom, so that he can lift you up, you know, gives him the work, you know, that brings forth his glory. So he's looking for the worst of the worst out there, that he may save you. And if you hear my words, I pray you do know they came from our King. And hopefully I'm going to bring out the next video here about grace. Okay, G-R-A-C-E. It's something that everybody needs to know. It's not a New Testament thing. It's actually, you know, it was mentioned some 39 times in the Old Testament. Okay, so there was grace even before our King became a sacrifice for our sins. So let's stop sinning, okay? And we'll get to that video here shortly, but I'm going to shut this off now. I pray that if you're listening to this today on the Sabbath day, seventh day Sabbath, that you'll be blessed. Keep up your guard, pray for one another, and remain in the faith. Until we meet again, I say shalom to you that believe, and bye to all you who are just seeking or desiring to believe. Even shalom to you if that's the true case. If you're out just looking for controversy or whatever, I say bye and watch some more of my videos, and I'm sure there'll be plenty of things there you can write about. Just keep it clean, family friendly, and remember, Holy Spirit is upon all these videos that I make, so when you listen to them, you know that the demons got to flee. At least that's what I used to think, you know, and I still believe that it'll bring you some protection. It's much better than, you know, most things. I suggest you start wearing your tassels, your seat seats, your fringes, the lots, you know, these things that you should be wearing on your garments, okay? So you can grab a hold of these and remember the 613 laws. That's what they're there for. These things weren't done away with, my friend. Everyone should be wearing them. It's not a Levitical thing. It is an everybody thing. Every believer should be wearing these. And when you see them out there, don't be afraid to go up and greet someone that's wearing them. Okay? And say, hey, my name's so-and-so, who are you? And start talking about things. Not for controversy, but know these people are seeking. They may not know the whole truth. They may only know that. They might not even know to keep the Sabbath yet. But they know enough to wear them if they do. And when you're looking around, just next time you're outside, you walk around to a mall or whatever, and look at all the people there who believe. I doubt you'll see one. I went to the New York State Fair here a few months ago, me and Larry and myself, and I told him, I says, now keep your eyes open to see who's wearing the seat seats. We never saw one soul wearing seat seats or tassels or lots, the fringes on the corners of their garment. Now, some people wear them and they hide them underneath so they can't be seen. But, you know, in order to get, you'd have to reach down in there, you know, to grab a hold of them to remember. You know, just wear them on the outside and be joyous about it. It's a law that you can keep. You know, it's not impossible to keep these laws. You can actually put them on your garments and you can wear them. You really can. So, till we meet again, consider those things. Pray for one another. Shalom. Or bye.